You know, as seen all over the churches now, we know that they point to the center of the Orion Nebula as being heaven, as being God. And we know that there is a correspondence between that area of the cosmos and our mind. We figured this out so far. Well, I've come to some interesting news today that I want to show you. Once again, here is a depiction of the stairway to heaven, heaven being the Orion Nebula. This was an unconsciously painted depiction of heaven, which just so happens to be the Orion Nebula. People are doing this all over the place unconsciously, and it's still pointing to the center of the Orion Nebula as being heaven. Well, you notice how bright it is right here, right? And I found something really interesting somebody sent me today in the news that just posted that I want to read to you. First of all, isn't this beautiful? The news is new. Orion Nebula reveals an infrared rainbow. And basically says, the sparkles of hidden stars are revealed in a picture of the Orion Nebula that reveals the colors of the infrared rainbow. Do you see those twinkling lights strung along that line that starts at the top right-hand corner of the image? Those are stars in the earliest stages of their evolution, swathed in clouds of gas and dust. Astronomers focused on those protostars with the infrared sensitive cameras of NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope and the European Space Agency's Herschel Space Telescope. This color-coded image shows the scene as observed by Spitzer in one set of infrared wavelengths, 8.0 and 24 microns, shown here in the shades of blue up here, and by Herschel in somewhat longer wavelengths, 70 and 160 microns, shown in green and red respectively. Herschel monitored the emissions from coal dust particles once a week for 6 weeks, while Spitzer kept track of the emissions from the warmer dust, filling out the infrared rainbow. Astronomers found that the star's brightness in infrared wavelengths varied by more than 20% during the observational time frame. That's surprising because the astronomers expected variations in brightness to play out over a time frame measured in years or even centuries rather than weeks. And then they have this thing about what could cause the short-term twinkling. Well, I remembered reading, I remembered there was something in the Bible regarding a rainbow. And so what I wanted to do is just hop over to that real quick and just show an interesting connection. I don't know if the connection, well, it could be, because we already know that they're pointing to heaven as being the center of the Orion Nebula. This is also thought by the Seventh-day Adventists, also thought by Ellen G. White, and it's also thought of as the Vatican as well. And it also corresponds to, that's the center part of our brains as well. Now let me read something to you in Revelations 10. This is really interesting. It says, "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven." If heaven is the center of the Orion Nebula, I think it's very interesting. "Clothed with a cloud," there are clouds out there, "and a rainbow above his head. And his face was as it were the sun, and his feet were as of pillars of fire." Okay. Well, this is the face, and this is the rainbow above him. And down here it says, and remember, if you remember, Ellen G. White said a voice would come down from the open space in Orion. Remember, that's what she said? And she said, "And it cried with a loud voice, when the lion roareth, and he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices." Now, 7 could correspond to the 7 chakras. Okay, so if there's something that's going to be signaling something to happen to us, the 7, you have to wonder why the number 7. I believe it's talking about chakras, and I believe the chakras are tied, just like we see in the Tree of Life, to stars. We are tuned to stars. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Say unto me, seal up these things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not." And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and the earth had lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and all things therein, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, which I believe has to do with the 7th chakra, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. So this is very interesting. Wanted to bring this to you because there's two places in the Bible. We see one in Revelations 10:1, which I just read, Revelation 4:3. This is really interesting too because, and immediately I was in the Spirit. Let's see, after I looked upon it, behold, a door opened into heaven. Okay, so we think of heaven as the Orion Nebula, and the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come hither, and I will shew thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in spirit. So this person had entered a certain mental state. And behold, a throne that was in heaven. And that throne that I believe that we see in the Orion Nebula is that trapezium area. And one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon it like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow about the throne, which this is the throne, and a rainbow about the throne. And what's interesting about these infrared images is because that is what the church shows. They always show infrared images. And when people draw these things unconsciously, they always are drawing what we see in infrared. So is there some kind of an interesting connection between visions and infrared? I don't know, but for whatever reason, the infrared pictures are always what are drawn in the churches. The clouds that you see infrared, that's what you always see. And so it's interesting that he has a vision and he sees a rainbow, but the rainbow that he sees is actually an infrared, which matches up to all of the other guys that are seeing visions as well. You see, so there's something tied to the whole infrared thing and the visions, and don't really know what that is yet. But the rainbow that was around the throne in sight like unto an emerald. And these around about the throne were 24 seats. Upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had upon their heads crowns of gold. And I don't know, these could be stars. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne. This all sounds to me like it's astrotheology. And it looks like it could be describing the center of the Orion Nebula. And take a look at what's going on here. The lightnings and the thunderings and the rainbow and the heavens. It all sounds to me like it's pointing to this area. What's causing me to tie it to this area? The word heaven. Because we see heaven. We see heaven being pointed to in the churches as the center of the Orion Nebula. We also see it in our brain. So there's your connection again. There's another connection. Here we go. Stairway to heaven. That's what's causing me, because we know when we look in Revelations and it talks about heaven, it's either talking about the center of our brains or it's talking about the area of the Orion Nebula. And what it describes is this rainbow around the throne. I found very interesting. So, anyways, you guys take care. I'll talk to you soon. Very interesting connection. Just wanted to put out there for you, something to at least think about. And I will talk to you soon.